Hello, and welcome to the American Society of Baking's 2026 Product Development Competition. My name's Sarah Day. I'm the Director of Education for the American Society of Baking, and I manage our product development competition. So I'm excited that you're here and interested in our competition this year. This webinar is going to give you some more information about the theme. So I'm going to hand over to Harrison Helmick, who is our Product Development Competition Committee Chair for 2026, and Keith Seiz from the National Honey Board, who are our sponsors. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. As she mentioned, I'm the committee chair for 2026, and we are excited that it is the 11th year. This year, we are sponsored again by the National Honey Board, and we are absolutely very grateful to them for their continued sponsorship. The theme for this year's competition is Honey in Action, and we are inviting all student teams to create novel and innovative baked goods that can combine unique textures, and, of course, you need to include some honey. This year, we wanted to showcase the many functional properties that honey has to offer, and we couldn't think of a better person to talk to than Keith Seiz about that topic. Keith is the strategic director and co-founder of Brightly Creative, and for today's purposes, he is the guy that knows everything you need to know about how honey acts in baked goods. Keith has a long history of working with industry partners and with the National Honey Board, and he's acquired a lot of knowledge, and I'm excited to learn a little bit more. So Keith, if we get into it, I did want to step back just a little. I think of honey in terms of flavor and sweetness and maybe some floral components, but I know that there's more to it. So I wanted to just think about what is ingredient functionality before we start specifically talking about what that is for honey.
Yeah, no, then thanks for the intro. Yeah, that's one of the great things about honey is that there's more than 181 different components in it. So yes, you get what everybody thinks of whenever they think of honey, the sweetness, but you also get functionality. And for the purposes of the competition, we're kind of identifying functionality as performing a role that's going to benefit the finished product, the baked good, whether that is improving the texture, extending the shelf life, basically thinking about, an ingredient beyond its flavor, its sweetness, into more the functional role it's going to play inside of a formula.
Nice. I heard you mention shelf life there. One of the things that I've heard about honey is that part of the reason it's a good shelf life extender is because it's a humectant. Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Yeah, honey is hygroscopic. So what that means is it prevents moisture transfer. So if you had a jar of honey and you open the cap, it's actually going to start pulling moisture in. If you get, open long enough, you're eventually going to get, something that's going to start fermenting. So it really not only wants to kind of pull moisture in from the air, but then not let go of it. This is fantastic in baked goods because, think about it, whether it's a loaf of bread or a cookie that's in a package, it's the honey when it's used in this formula is kind of keeping all that moisture in, and any moisture in the environment, it's not really allowing that transfer out. So it's not only not giving up water easily, but actually bringing it in. So it's going to mean your products are going to stay moisture for a lot longer period of time.
Nice. That sounds like a great benefit.
Definitely.
Does that extra moisture lead to any concerns with mold growth or other shelf life concerns?
No, that's the best part about honey is you've got these solid benefits coming in, the preventing of the moisture transfer out of the product, but honey also has acids in it, and it actually has kind of a pretty low pH of 3.9, which surprises a lot of people. It puts it on the pH scale between vinegar and a tomato. So we've got this, low pH, low water activity, and actually hydrogen peroxide components inside of honey due to glucose oxidase, which is an enzyme in honey. And all these things kind of added together to not only keep the moisture in the product, but also to kind of protect against numerous strains of bacteria growth and mold. So it's kind of keeping the moisture in, but not so much where you're going to get a bunch of bacteria growing in that product.
Nice. That sounds like it really does a lot for shelf life.
Definitely.
I heard you mention bread and some buns, some cookies. Another market that I've been seeing honey go into recently is bars. What makes you think that it would be good for that type of application?
Yeah, bars especially benefit from honey as a functional ingredient, because if you think about a bar, the big popular bars now tend to be the kind of whole food bars, how I classify them. So bars with either oats, nuts, seeds, all these kind of whole food ingredients that are in the bar. Whenever you use honey, it's a great natural binder. So it's a huge functional benefit to use honey in a bar because it's going to keep all those ingredients together without some other kind of syrup or binder that may be a little less label friendly. It's also good because, a lot of nuts, could have potential shelf life issues, especially if you're talking about chopped nuts, where you're exposing the oils in the nuts to oxygen, where honey acts as a barrier against all that. So not only are you kind of using it as a binder, but in those products, you're also using it as a shelf life extender, because if you're, chopping a nut like, say, a walnut, that honey is providing a barrier in that product. So really providing two functional benefits in a bar.
No, that sounds amazing. And I can also picture how that kind of water holding, that hydroscopicity, could also be helpful for things like bar hardening, which I know is something that a lot of people have struggled with recently.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And that's a really, you look on the market and it's one of our largest categories. And functionally, you see honey in everything from the soft bars to the crispy bars to really, the kind of chewy. So depending on the level, functionally it can be used to provide all the functional benefits, but it's not just limited to one type of bar. Depending on the level of honey you use, you can really use it in all textures and formats.
Nice. So I know that we are starting to come up to kind of the amount of time we said we were going to spend here, but is there anything else that we should know about honey before we sign off?
Yeah, I think just, if you think about its composition between the acids, between the more than 25 different carbohydrates in it, there's all sorts of amazing things beyond just flavor. There's a lot of masking that's a big functional benefit. So if you're creating a product that has high levels of nutrients in it, maybe a high protein product, something like that, honey's great to help mask those flavors because it has that combination of carbohydrates and acids. So really kind of helps mask and better for you products, as well as functional benefits such as improving color. Honey caramelizes pretty quickly. So you can, get excellent browning in a product at, pretty low temperatures. So there's a whole host of benefits, functional benefits beyond just the sweetness whenever you use honey in a product.
Nice. I like that you brought up color too. That's one of the things that I think a lot of people could use this for. Could you bake your products maybe even a little bit faster?
Yeah, definitely. Two strategies you can use. You can bake them faster, so get them out of the oven quicker, or lower your oven temperature, which could save energy costs too. Just because the Maillard reaction is happening at a much rapider, quicker pace, because honey, two main sugar components are fructose and glucose, which are going to start browning a little more intense and a little earlier than, say, a sucrose would.
Got it. That sounds like a win for efficiency as well.
Definitely.
Well, that is the time we have today. Keith, thank you so much for sitting down with us. I really do feel like I learned more about honey and baking, and I might even try it in some of my own projects. I hope that for the students out there, that you have the same creative inspiration, and as you guys get to working on your projects, that this helps clear up some of the questions that you might have. I look forward to reading all of your applications for the product development competition that will be held at Baking Tech in 2026. Applications are due on November 7th, 2025. So get your teams together now, and happy baking.
Thank you so much, Harrison and Keith, for that conversation. Just a quick reminder that the theme this year is to use honey as a functional ingredient that goes beyond flavor. Your proposal must clearly define and demonstrate the functional role that honey plays in the product. Your product must contain a combination of at least 2 new textures in a new or existing baked product. And your product should be made using a grain or pseudo grain flour. It should start as a dough or batter and then be cooked or baked into its final form. And it needs a minimum shelf life of 14 days. So all of that combined with the information that Keith and Harrison have been discussing, we are very much looking forward to your proposals and your applications. Please contact me, Sarah Day, at the American Society of Baking if you have any questions, and good luck.